Good morning, everybody. It's good to be together. Happy New Year. Here we go. What a week. If you didn't notice, there's a lot of news going on in our country. A lot of devastation, a lot of things. We're starting out in the book of Ruth. And today we're going to talk chapter 1 through. The chapter 1 of Ruth is very sad and devastating. So I know that you came to church to be cheered up a little bit. And so I hope you are, but I hope you understand that through this life there are difficulties, and Ruth chapter 1 explains them. At the end of the service today, we're going to be baptizing at least 4 people, which is awesome. And we're excited about that experience for them. And we're going to be celebrating their commitment to the Lord. And I don't know if this is ringing in your ears, but it's ringing in mine. But maybe it's just tune me down and I'll put it closer to my mouth. Turn to Ruth chapter 1, please. And we're going to start in verse 3. Now, Naomi is Ruth's mother-in-law. Naomi married a guy named Elimelech, and she had 2 sons. And they married Orpah and Ruth. And this story starts out very tragically. And we're going to explain how this goes. We're going to start in verse 3, because this is just bear with me. Now, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. And when she was left with her 2 sons, they married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they lived there 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died. And Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husbands. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. You have to understand, in these Bible times, 1200 or so BC, it's extreme poverty to be a woman without a husband to take care of you. Verse 8, then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. And then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people. But Naomi said, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, she's getting a little cranky now. Would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No. My daughters, it is more bitter for me than you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. Listen to the honesty here. Verse 14. At this, they wept aloud again. This is a very emotional time here. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi. This is when Ruth is clinging to her. Have you ever had somebody clingy in your life? Okay. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, these famous words here, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, even if death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So you see this, we're going to pause here for a minute. You see this great tragedy, and out of that tragedy is some practical needs of survival. So when you're going through the kind of loss that Naomi and Ruth and Orpah were going through, you kick into survival mode. And Naomi was just trying to survive. I got to travel back. I don't need any extra baggage here. But then Ruth would not leave her. So the two women, verse 19, went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" Now, if you were from a small town, someone who's been gone a long time comes back, the whole town's abuzz to it. I lived in a very small town in Montana, 1,700 people, and then it would swell to like 2,000 in the summer. But if somebody new came into town, boom, everybody knew. And so this is what happened. Is this Naomi? Can this be her? She's had such a disastrous time. How can this be her? She looks not the same. She looks horrible. So the women came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi," she told them. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. Don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter." You know, when someone's in a place of extreme loss, there's a lot of giving up. Okay? Because Naomi says this, verse 21, "I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty God has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. It's good that the barley harvest is beginning. We'll cheer you up next Sunday. This is why we have you Sunday after Sunday, because I want to share some truth from Ruth, if you could, for a minute. And some truth from Ruth, first of all, is this encouraging statement: life can be hard. Hey, life can be super hard. We've suffered losses as a church family. There are losses that are taking place in our country. I mean, LA is a mess. 30,000 homes gone. People are suffering. And it might be an affluent culture, but I'm telling you, they are suffering. There's people who are hurting beyond any kind of, they just like, God has afflicted me. They're in the same kind of place that Naomi was. This is terrible. Don't call me Naomi anymore. Just call me bitter. Just call me, life can be hard. And I think it's important we deal with that. I'm tempted to preach happy sermons all week long and hope that you just like keep coming back. But can I just tell you, it's not truth. There's sadness out there. There's people that lose hard times. I was a wrestling coach for 26 years. When I say was, the further back it goes, the better of a coach I was. But I think of some of the things I did, and I think, man, I was not very smart. Wished I wouldn't have done that. Now, we would work hard. Wrestling's a tough sport. If you can wrestle, you are going to be tough. It makes better husbands and fathers out of guys that wrestle, because they're just like, I can get through anything. I can get through marriage. I can get through children. I can get through getting, because I'm a wrestler. My ears are long gone, but I am going to make it. And so we really believe in the sport. And so we really, love the commitment it takes. And just to get into the wrestling room, we ran stairs. I'd make my guys run stairs. And we'd run maybe, 10 minutes at a time. And then sometimes we'd get up to 20 minutes. Sometimes if I was feeling like an animal, I would say, put somebody on your back and run stairs. And they'd carry people up and down the stairs. Not the safest thing. Mothers would see that and like, I don't know. But I had this problem because I would tell them, I don't know if it's a problem, it was just a philosophy. Don't ever let your opponent know how exhausted you are. In other words, so we'd be wrestling and going through our things and got all the working out going on, and I'd blow the whistle and say, okay, everybody bounce up. Let me look at your faces. Tell me what your face says. And everybody goes, whew, not even tired. Because if you start hanging your head and hanging your tongue out, your opponent is going to get awfully encouraged by that. So I kind of furthered a bad philosophy to not be transparent on how you really feel. We do it all the time. A little kid falls down and we run over to him. What do us guys do? Oh, you're okay. You're okay. You're just bleeding a little bit. You're okay. You're going to be tough. And while that's good, in wrestling, it's good for your opponent to not think you're tired. We're on the same team here. We are in the body of Christ, and we have got to get to a place where we can be transparent and real with each other. We have got to be able to share how we are doing. And how does it feel to be you? Are you going? Sometimes weeks are awesome. We have great time and we have wonderful days. You know how those days are? You go, boy, that was a good day. And then we have days like, I can't sleep. I'm worried about something. Something's got to happen or it's going to be trouble. And life can be hard. I love the fact that this church cares about people who suffer and are hurting. We bring them wood, and then we bring them some beef with the wood. Or today we're going to go clean up the house and work on a house they discovered when hauling wood to somebody's house. They care about somebody else because somebody else is hurting. And that's important, that we understand that people are going through things. Life is hard, but we have to understand. And it doesn't always work in life to just put your game face on or your Christian game face. I know you don't want to be a burden to anyone, but you've got to find places to be real. You've got to find people you can trust. I hope we are that here, and I hope you can find that for you. Life can be hard. Truth number 2, truth from Ruth, is that we're moved by life. Naomi and her daughters-in-law decided they had to get out of there. Things had gotten so bad that they thought, well, Naomi said, well, if I go back to Bethlehem, I can at least maybe get by or find someone. I've got to move because this is no place for me to be. There are things that happen in our life that alter the course and the direction of our life. Tragedies, difficulties, very, very big things, heavy things, hardships that alter the course you are going, and your direction is changed. But I'm telling you, there is protection in a change of direction. Okay? I sound like a Southern something preacher. There's protection in direction change. But can I just tell you, you can't see the end of the road. And when you're going through a difficult thing, like Naomi was with Ruth and Orpah, she couldn't see the end of the road. She couldn't see the barley harvest coming. She couldn't see the good chapters that are ahead. She just saw the misery, and it moved her. I went broke farming, and it moved us. It moved us from the town we were in to another town where we started a church and got to pastor a church, and then that kind of became, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Ronald Reagan was president then, and they said to him, there's a lot of farmers going broke. What do you think about that? And he hurt my feelings. He said, there's a lot of people farming that shouldn't be. Ouch! He was right. But I left the lucrative life of farming, and I started pastoring a church. That's the first year I paid taxes in like 8 years. My tax accountant says, hey, you owe $800 here. I said, what? I don't have to do that. She goes, you're not farming anymore. You're a pastor. See, life can be hard, but it moves us to another direction. And I know you don't like hardships. Oh, and I was desperately crying out to God for finances and blessings of the Lord, and waving my crops to him and worshiping him and helping him know I was God's gift to farming. But he, out of his protection, he changed my direction. And you might be struggling right now, and it's tough to lose a business. It's tough to lose and to have loss. I mean, we're looking at a whole region in Southern California that has had huge loss. But what our believers in the Lord, what we should be praying is, God, reveal yourself to them. Show yourself to them in the midst of this tragedy. Change the direction of lives so that it changes into a growth and an expansion in the kingdom of God. We are moved by truth. Now, this scene between Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth. Naomi said, Orpah, go back. Ruth, go back. Orpah said, okay, I'll go back and find a husband with my other people. Ruth said, I ain't going anywhere. I'm clinging to you. I'm going to live with you, and I'm going to die with you. I'm committed to you no matter what. It doesn't look good, I'll give you that. It looks like we're going to starve to death on this journey. But my grip is on you. Here's the story for us, people of God. Your strength of your grip is something that develops. It develops with determination, desperation, commitment to God. And like Ruth said to Naomi, I got nothing else. I'm going to hang on to you. My wife's grandmother milked cows all her life. She was like way on in years. almost graduating from this planet. And if you'd grip her hand, you could just feel it. There was strength in her hands because you're milking cows. Anybody here milk cows? Shake his hand after church. But be careful. Be careful with us who don't milk cows, because it's like, I was a wrestler, and I thought, well, I'm going to join gymnastics so it can make my upper body strong. And what it did was I learned how to do handstands on the rings and the parallel bars, and my hands just got stronger and stronger. I got so I could grab somebody. They couldn't get away from me. The grip. There's studies that show that the strength of your grip is equated to the health of your physical body. And so I'm just saying, grip strength is important. And here's what's going on. Ruth was clinging and gripping onto Naomi because she knew that she was a woman of God, even though she was in her terrible condition, even though she was desperate. I'm going to hang on to you because I'm going with you. I'm going to follow your God. And you have to sometimes cling to what is good. Sometimes you're at the end of your strength and you want to let go. You know the feeling. You want to give up. You want to not keep going. Well, I'm telling you, practice hanging on to the Lord. And as you go through things in life, your grip strength becomes stronger. And then when you go through devastating loss, your grip strength is going to be there. And you're going to hang on to the Lord. You're stronger and stronger. You're going to pray one more time. You're going to believe one more time. You're going to sing worship songs one more time, even in your desperation, because you are holding on to God himself. You're gripping on to the faith that you have learned through the years. Truth from Ruth, number 3. Our identity is formed. We obviously have characteristics. Some of us are known by our characteristics. You are this. I go to my doctor and I'm a little offended because I know him really well. He's my friend. And he gets his little microphone up and he says, I have a obese male, 66 years old, balding. He's recording this. We obviously have exterior characteristics that we're known by and known for. It describes us. See, God is interested in forming an identity of you by internal characteristics. The root word is character. He wants to form in you the likeness of Jesus and who he is. So somebody will be encountering you and they'll say, I don't see any of this obese guy here. I see the fact that he knows Jesus and he loves Jesus. He's hanging on to him. God wants to form your character. He wants to make you be who you are called to be. And it's a process, isn't it? There's a process of melting and shaping and forming. And it takes time, but then there becomes a useful tool for God, for his kingdom. There's people being shaped all over the place, and many of you are feeling pressure. Some of you are feeling like, okay, the pressure's finally over. Now I can start being used. But there is this complete process that God is doing, and he's shaping your identity. Your identity in him is formed by him and his hands on you. Naomi didn't look the same. She came back and she looked, the ladies in town said, this Naomi? She looks terrible. The women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" And Naomi said, "I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." Oh. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune. Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth and the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem. Now, and they said, there's no record ever again of anyone calling Naomi Mara. She said, I'm miserable Mara. Don't call me Naomi. Naomi means pleasant. I am bitter. I've gone through hard things. Shape. Pressure. And we're going to find how God uses her in the future and how God brings them to a place of not just usefulness, but great impact. But I'm just telling you, don't try to skip the process of being shaped by God. He wants to put character in you and bring the characteristics of Jesus into your life. Jesus was walking along the Sea of Galilee, and he saw two brothers, Simon and Peter. They were fishing. And he said these amazing words. He said, "Come, follow me. I will make you fishers of men." Come, follow me. I will make you. I will shape you. It's not going to be, if you could fill in the words, because we know that what happened was not all easy, but he shaped them and formed them and changed the world. We're sitting in a congregation knowing about Jesus because of the men that Jesus shaped. We know the truth of the gospel because those men that were under those pressures, under those great losses, were formed and became useful. You're signed up. If you follow Jesus, he will make you. You don't have to have an extreme makeover in your own life. He's good at that. And he'll do it. Hang on to Jesus. He'll see you through, and you'll get to the end, and you'll realize this is baptism day. And I'm so excited for the commitments that these folks are making publicly. They're saying in front of you, I'm willing to be shaped by the Lord all the days of my life. We're going to worship together for a couple of songs as they get ready to be baptized.